Good morning, dear colleagues. Today's theme is Medulla oblongata. We shall together draw a scheme of transverse section of this part of brainstem. We can say that medulla oblongata is prolongation of the spinal cord into the skull. So it has quite interesting relief. Here it is. It's left part of medulla oblongata and now the right part of medulla oblongata. Each sulcus, each tubercle in this relief has its own name, so we need to know it. Again, as in spinal cord, I'd like to remember you that in our schemes of transverse sections in different part of the brain, here in the superior portion of the picture we see the dorsal part of the section, and here in inferior part of the picture we can see the ventral part. So let's try to distinguish each of it. What is this paired structure which is designated as letter P? It's pyramis. Pyramis is a portion of white matter where the pyramidal tracts go to the spinal cord. So pyramidal tracts is special motor pathways which provides the movement of skeletal musculature. So pyramis. Laterally from pyramis we can find these quite protruded structures which cause olives. In plural, olives, but in singular, oliva. It's in Latin. Later we shall see what we can find inside of it. There is both great matter there and white matter also. And what is this? In the dorsal part of the medulla oblongata is a special place which is designated with gray color because it is gray matter. Gray matter always contains the perikaryones. It means bodies of neurons. So here in this place we can find a lot of neurons, bodies of neurons, which belongs to the cerebral nerves, cranial nerves, and later we shall find each of them. So why it's written here 9, 12 in Latin? because here we can find the cranial nerves from 9th to 12th pairs. So this gray matter contains the nuclei of cranial nerves from 9th till 12 pairs. How can we call this place? We can say that it is gray matter of the bottom of the rhomboid fossa. So this is rhomboid fossa, but in transverse section it looks like this flattened part. So nuclei of cranial nerves from 9 to 12 pairs are located here. Then laterally to the cranial nuclei of cranial nerves we can find this elongation, which designated as TG because it's tuberculum gracilis. Tuberculum gracilis. And laterally of it, from both sides, tuberculum cuneatus, TC. Tuberculum cuneatus. We know that tuberculum gracilis and tuberculum cuneatus they are prolongations of fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, which we know in spinal cord. So these fasciculi in spinal cord reaches these tubercles and have synaptic contact with second nerves. So what is the function of tuberculum gracilis and tuberculum cuneatus? They are place of second neurons, of pathways of Goll and pathway of Burdach. Those pathways which are responsible for the proprioception, that means the sensation in our bones, in our ligaments and our muscles. Then when we know the protruded portions of the transverse section of medulla oblongata, surely we can see between these protruded portions a special sulci. So here it is sulcus behind the olive. In this sulcus behind the olives goes several fibers of cranial nerves, exactly from 9 to 11. Nervus glossopharyngeus, number 9, nervus vagus, number 10, and nervus accessorius, number 11. Then we can write down here that this is the place of emerge of the roots of cranial nerves and the sulcus behind the olive. So if it is olive, in this sulcus, these fibers pass. Then, behind this sulcus posterolateralis, we can find the next elongation, which is designated as PCI. PCI, what is it? PCI, it's pedunculus cerebellaris inferior. These abbreviations we use for remembering the large term pedunculus cerebellaris inferior. Again, it is especially white matter. So inside of it we can find several pathways. So later we shall designate them. And what is now? It is cranial nerve number 12, nervus gypoglossus. This is a root of nervus gypoglossus, which we can find in sulcus between pyramis and olive. So between pyramis and olive there is nervus hypoglossus, 12 cranial nerve. So it appears on the surface of brainstem exactly in this position between pyramis and olive. If we say that this is the root, so it starts from the nucleus nervi hypoglossi, which is inside of the great matter on the bottom of rhomboid fossa. So here it is, the nucleus nervi hypoglossi, nucleus nervi hypoglossi, in gray matter of the bottom of the rhomboid fossa. So you can see that this nerve has the bodies of the neurons which are located dorsally in the dorsal part of medulla spinalis, medulla oblongata, and then it passes through all thickness of the brainstem, and the roots appears on the ventral surface. It's very interesting. So it goes not from short way, but from quite long way before we can find it. Then inside of the olive, what is it? It's part of gray matter, its nucleus. Each nucleus belongs to gray matter. It has a lot of neurons inside. Again, do you remember the rule that always with red color, we designate the motor structures. So if I ask you, what function has this nucleus olivaris? According to its color, you should answer me. Nucleus olivaris, this nucleus inside the olive, has the motor function. So it controls the movements. But if I ask you the next question, does these movements conscious or unconscious? The answer is this is unconscious movements. Why? Because location of this nucleus is not in the cortex. Only cortex, only the most peripheral part of hemispheria cerebri is responsible for consciousness, but all parts of the brain which are lower than the cortex, they only provides unconscious functions. So this is responsible for unconscious movements. And the same according to the nervus hypoglossus. It is also motor nerve, so it is motor function which is innervation of musculature of the tongue and muscles of the neck behind the not behind but below the hyoid bone. So let's designate NO, nucleus olivaris. Nucleus olivarius, so it means belongs to the olive. It participates in the maintenance of equilibrium reactions. Equilibrium reactions for to have a strong pose, we should equilibrate, and this is always unconscious motor reaction. Then this is blue nucleus, and in another side also NG, nucleus gracilis. Here it is written nucleus gracilis, the second neuron of Golgi's tract, the conscious tract of proprioceptive sensitivity. Nucleus gracilis is the second neuron of the Golgi's tract. Then similar but laterally located, NC, nucleus cuneatus, the second neuron of Burdach's tract, the conscious path of proprioceptive sensitivity. So they are quite similar, nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus, but what is difference between them? Why there are two pathways, tuberculum gracilis, tuberculum cuneatus, nucleus gracilis, nucleus cuneatus? Because nucleus gracilis and fasciculus gracilis they are responsible for sensitivity of lower extremity, and nucleus cuneatus for the sensitivity of upper extremity. So differentiation is in the zone of innervation. Then what is this? So it is demonstration of line which divides the medulla oblongata in two symmetrical parts. This is necessary for designating these pathways which originates from nucleus cuneatus and then prolongates in superior direction, passing through the midline. So we can say that from the left side it goes into the right side of the medulla. And here it is, similar part from nucleus gracilis. They together form in the contralateral side. Contralateral means that from opposite part of the brainstem. If it is left, so in opposite to the right. So this part, LM, is so-called lemniscus medialis. Lemniscus medialis translates as a loop, medial loop. So it is a bigger part of the axons of second neurons of conscious proprioceptive sensitivity tract after the transition to the opposite side. So after it goes through midline, then those part of it before transition to the opposite side, designated as abbreviation FAI. So what is it, FAI? Fibre arcuate interne. Fibre arcuate interne. A larger part of axons of second neurons of conscious proprioceptive sensitivity tract before the transition to opposite side. And now some fibers we can find that they surrounds nucleus alveolaris from periphery. Here they are. What is it? It's so-called fibre arcuate externe dorsalis. Fibre arcuate externe dorsalis. A smaller part of the axons of second neurons of conscious proprioceptive sensitivity tract through the pedunculus cerebellaris inferior reached the cortex of vermis from ipsilateral side, the same side. So, practically, the similarly designated fibers, fibra arcuata interna, contain about 80% of fibers from nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus, and fibra arcuata externa dorsalis only 20%. And each of them belongs to the pathway of proprioceptic sensitivity, conscious proprioceptic sensitivity, here it's written. And now, in pedunculus cerebellaris inferior, we can find several tracts which also have their own name. Tractus spina cerebellaris posterior, or lexic tract. Then spina cerebellaris anterior, or Gover's tract. And also, so what is function of these tracts, spina cerebellaris anterior and posterior? According to the name, we can understand that they are sensitive, because spino cerebellaris, from the down up they goes. And the next which we should remember, what kind of sensitivity? It is proprioceptic sensitivity. But in comparison with conscious proprioceptic sensitivity, they are unconscious tracts. And now, this red nuclei, not nuclei, excuse me, red color fibers, tractus rubrospinalis. Rubrospinalis, what it means? That it goes from up down, because spinalis on the second position. So spinalis means a spinal cord. So it goes from up down. That's why it is motor pathway, unconscious motor pathway. And now this again red color structure, this is fasciculus longitudinalis medialis. Fasciculus longitudinalis medialis, which are responsible for combined turn of the head and eyes. Usually, when we turn our head in the same direction, we turn our eyes. This is a reflectory movement. And this fasciculus is responsible for such movements. And here, inside of pyramis, we can find tractus corticospinalis, which is responsible for conscious motor movements of the muscles of body and extremities. And again, very interestingly, that some parts of these fibers, they cross midline and goes to contralateral side, to opposite side. This place calls decussatio pyramidum. Decussatio, so crossways. Decussatio pyramidum. Practically, we have finished, and summarizing, as a summary, I'd like to you pay attention that practically there are two colors in this picture. Red color is color responsible for the movements, and blue color is color responsible for the sensitivities. We need to distinguish and to remember, are they conscious or unconscious pathways? And this depends very often from the definition, from the name of these structures. So be attentive to each name. It helps you to keep in memory the main functions of medulla oblongata. It's good for you to have a possibility to draw this picture by heart, by memory. So I wish you good results. Thank you.